city of angels, Los Angeles, was a young town on the burgeoning cultural landscape of America in the 1950s. Hollywood, beach culture, and the emerging aerospace industry defined it. It was the antithesis of New York City, the recently crowned capital of the art world. Los Angeles is spread out, New York tightly packed. People in New York take the subways and hang out in bars and cafes. People in LA drive cars and go to the beach. These differences were significant in the ways that artists interacted and artistic communities formed. There was no equivalent to the industrial Soho district in Lower Manhattan, where many artists had their studios in New York. At the time, real estate in Venice Beach was cheap, so that's where many LA artists moved to work. To the art world elite in New York, LA seemed like a distant backwater. Unlike New York, where an established gallery system dictated which artists were shown, the lack of established galleries in Los Angeles pushed artists to take charge of their own destinies by finding alternative spaces to show. While this made being a professional artist harder, it also provided a stage where artists in Los Angeles could experiment and develop freely, without the pressure of a critical microscope like in New York. The Ferris Gallery, started by curator Walter Hopps, artist Ed Kienholz, and poet Bob Alexander in 1957, became a seminal promoter of local artists. At first it made little money, partly because it was showing new and different art, but it provided the LA artists a foothold. Even some emerging New York artists took advantage of LA's openness. The Ferris Gallery was, ironically, the first gallery to show the iconic soup cans painting of the ultimate New York artist, Andy Warhol, in 1962. In this free atmosphere, a group of artists emerged that had a distinct Southern California sensibility. These artists were interested in the perceptual phenomenon of light and space. They exploited the development of new materials coming from the aerospace industry, like resin, acrylic, and neon. Their work explored the translucency of these materials and how that interacted with light and surface to effect perception. Often these artists manipulated an entire space, creating environments where the viewer's observations were called into question and new states of awareness might be experienced. In working through Bruce Naumann's Green Corridor, for example, a viewer's eyes were saturated with green light. As the viewer emerged from the corridor, they would see a deep rosy pink as their eyes readjusted to the surrounding space's natural lighting. In 1967, the Los Angeles County Museum of Art sponsored an art and technology program. This program gave many of these artists a place to investigate their ideas. In 1971, the University of California in Los Angeles held an exhibition titled Transparency, Reflection, Light and Space for artists, which included Robert Irwin, Peter Alexander, Larry Bell, and Craig Kaufman. Museums in Pomona and Pasadena also exhibited artists working in the same vein. These artists became known as the light and space artists. The light and space artists were perhaps more philosophically inclined than other movements. Their explorations mirrored a branch of philosophy known as phenomenology, which could be broadly defined as the objective study of subjective experience. This art's use of highly polished surfaces, translucency, and light and shadow requires the viewer to question how we perceive our experience and how that experience forms us. The light and space artists were exploring the relationship between matter, energy, and pure thought.